Hey, good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, June 14th, and I just came on to give a little bit of an update of what week 4 post-op looks like. Sorry, adjusting. Um, it's been a really interesting week. So the last time we talked, I was at the end of my third week and I had had my third post-op appointment. They had taken my drain out. I kind of gave an update on all those things. Well, this week has been a little bit more of a challenge. So I'm still having some wound issues, which started late, right? other than my breasts blistering, which we knew about and I was treating, I started to have some issues. I had the two spots pop open below my belly button, which I talked about needing to be stitched, and then my belly button cracked, so that needed to be treated. They took my drain out, but now I'm still leaking from that spot and I'm getting a lot of swelling there. So there's been lots of little stuff that's cropped up. I also have this spot under my right breast, which has opened. And it's a tricky spot to get it to close and heal. So it is, we're dry packing it with some soft gauze and changing that out during the day as it leaks and what have you. So it's really frustrating to have a stretch where besides the blistering, like everything seemed like it was doing well, and then kind of have like all of these issues crop up. So, staying in contact with my surgeon, and he recommended that we start home health care for two reasons. One is to have a nurse coming in 3 times a week to make sure that they've got eyes on it so that if anything shifts, we can catch it pretty quickly. But then also so that I'm not trekking to either Novato or San Francisco on the regular to have wound care, right? Because that's a pretty big trek for a short visit. So this helps to mitigate that. So I'm really happy that we're doing it. It makes me feel more comfortable to have eyes on. They're also going to bring out a wound specialist to take a look at the spot under my breast to make sure, and I think that happens either Monday or Tuesday, to make sure that there isn't anything additional going on. Both nurses that I've had here over the last few days have looked at it. There's no sign of infection. It is angry and upset, and it is not closing. And there is some leakage, but there's no real sign of infection, which is good news. So it just so happens that for me, being autoimmune compromised with scleroderma and Lyme, that I'm a slow healer. And we knew that going into this, which is why I have done the protocol that I did: 100 grams of protein a day, 20 to 40 grams of collagen, all of the vitamin supplements that I'm taking, because those were areas where I was deficient anyway, trying to maximize and optimize my body in a way to support it, to help give it what it needs to give me what I need in order to heal. So, um, but all of that aside, like it is very frustrating. And then some days it's very discouraging because, I see it's hard not to have like this imposter syndrome or comparison situation where you see other women where they're like, I'm 3 weeks, 4 weeks, post-op and I'm fully healed and I'm back out in the world and yada yada. And you're just like, fuck, why me? Like, why is this so slow for me? But you got to kind of get away from that and just know that this is your journey. This is my journey, and I'm just slow in this case. So that's a little bit frustrating. Just looking at my list here. So, in other news, I've also been really trying to work on sleeping better. So, as I said last week, I'm still sleeping in the recliner. And it's getting a little bit more challenging because as I start to feel somewhat better and get a little bit more stretch in my body, I want to stretch out. I want so desperately to sleep in my bed. And sleeping in the recliner is very limited. I still have to sleep in a flexed position, whether I'm in bed or in the recliner. But in bed, you have a little bit more room to kind of move around, and in the recliner, you just don't. So my restlessness is going up at night, which is a little bit hard. And then, just like having to get up and use the bathroom or, any kind of movement in the chair, it's kind of like a big ordeal because you're in such a small space. You have to kind of readjust very intricately. It's just kind of bizarre. But so that's been a little bit of a challenge. So I am back to having a couple more naps during the day because maybe some nights I'm not sleeping quite as long as at night. I did actually sleep a fair good stretch last night. I think I got about 7 hours, or just over 7 hours last night. Not straight through, but in a pretty long stretch, I got up twice, I think, to use the restroom. So that was pretty good. But I'm hoping that by maybe next week, like middle of next week. I say next week like it's a long way away. But like probably the middle of next week, I hope to be able to be back in bed maybe 1 or 2 nights a week, like starting to test the waters. I still am kind of like a turtle on my back when I lay down. So I have to kind of really work on during the day if I nap, trying to maybe nap there and then, get myself up. And see how that goes, right? So that's kind of the goal for next week is to see how we can work on that because I would love to be, back in bed. Um, and then next Friday, we have my next post-op appointment. And that will be, I think that will be my end of the 5th week post-op appointment. So generally you have like a 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week appointment, and then you have a 6 week appointment. So I think this is going to kind of stand in for that sort of 6th week appointment. I may be seeing him a little bit more just given everything that I have going on right now. So, but I'm really looking forward to that. And in that appointment, the things that I really want to cover off on is obviously anything that's continuing to develop wound wise over this next week. But then I also want to talk to him about starting PT or occupational therapy. I still have very limited range of motion in my upper body because I still can't raise my arms above my shoulders. So we're limited to sort of this domain, right? And so it is better, but I still have a lot of tightness in the sides of my chest wall, and then just my shoulders and my neck. So I've been doing a little bit more kind of micro movement stretching to help all of that out. But I would really love to be able to get into PT. Now, the thing with PT that I don't know of is, are these wound issues going to complicate me being able to start PT on a regular basis? So that will remain to be seen. But that's kind of one of the biggest things I'm hoping to get out of next week. And then also just sort of having like, okay, now that we know I have these wound issues, like not everything is closed 100%. What does the next 2 weeks look like? Like, I'm somebody who I'm a planner. I love to be spontaneous, but like situations like this, like I really just need a plan. So I want to talk to him about like, what's the plan for the next 2 weeks? If I have in-home care, if we have this going on and these touch points, like what do we expect? For how these wounds should be healing. And if they don't reach like whatever sort of benchmark or milestone we're aiming for, then what is the next thing? I think that will really help me understand and kind of put into perspective like how do we address this, right? Because just kind of hanging out and waiting for it to heal is just feels a little bit weird, and it's unnerving for me because I'm like, I'm just at home looking at it every day and I feel like it's not healing, and maybe it is, I don't know. So I think putting some of those things into place and having a little bit more of a plan would just be helpful for me, and I'll just kind of also help quiet, my mental state a little bit. So but that's where we are today. Everybody's journey with deep flap reconstruction is different. Again, I'm really happy with, the shape and kind of what things are, doing, and, or not what things are doing, but how I'm looking, and kind of I can see the future end result. And I know that I'm going to be happy with that. It's just the road to get there is long, right? So anyway, that's where we are as of this week. I'm going to post a couple other videos probably tomorrow or Monday about other different parts of the journey that I want to cover off on. So stay tuned for that. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, please drop them in the chat below and I'll get back to you. Thanks.